Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Rule Thirds, your favorite film culture podcast, right here on RuleThirds.com. Ain't that funny? Rule Thirds, RuleThirds.com. Today, we will be discussing the film Mad Max Fury Road, but unlike other episodes of Rule Thirds, this is not just going to be a straight-up review. What do I mean? Well, I don't want to give anything away, so how about you just keep listening, and we'll let you know of all the details later. My name is Larry.
My name is Sean, and Max isn't here.
Max isn't here again.
Hilariously, he is driving right now. Don't know if he's mad, but yeah.
Is he furious?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the road is.
I don't know.
This worked, Larry. This intro worked.
It worked.
Onward.
Yeah. I also find it really funny how there's a character called Furiosa, and we just reviewed another movie with a lot of car stuff called Furious 7.
Cars are angry, okay?
Yeah, cars are angry. Hey, Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah,
a little tired, but
well, you're currently in your summer home. Down in L.A.?
Yes, Santa Monica.
Yes, and everything, I assume, is going very well.
Yep, first day of my internship was yesterday, and it was very fun.
And I hear that you got to read a screenplay of an upcoming film.
Yes, and I can't say what. Signed a
of course
non-disclosure agreement, but I read the entire screenplay because I had some free time, and screenplays are, if you don't know, are like really quick to read. Yeah, it's really good, so now I'm even more excited to see the film.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to say what month, but it's later this year.
Later this year. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So maybe if we review it.
Yeah, I saw scenes of it. There's like 40 minutes worth of the film that I could find on our server, and so I was just watching.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a rough cut, but it looked good.
That's cool. All right. Well, maybe if we get the chance to review this film on Rule Thirds, you can we can use your experience.
I'll tell you when it comes up. As soon as it's out, I can say, yeah, that's what I was talking about. So when we get there, yes, I will let you know.
Awesome. And Mr. Mariner, as we mentioned before, is on the road currently. Where is he headed?
He's headed back home in farther north California. I don't really know actually where. From college in Santa Fe. So he was on his way through LA to look at apartments and such for his internship. And for those that don't know, through Twitter, he dropped in on me last night, which was a surprise, and we hung out for a little while and called Larry, and it was super late for him.
Yeah,
and he hated us.
11:56 p.m. to be exact.
Oh, it was only 11:56.
Yeah, I was sleeping. I was sleeping.
How can you be asleep, Lamb?
Whatever. That's not the point. That's not the point.
The
point is Mad Max Fury Road. Okay.
Yes.
So let's before we get into the actual review of the film, before we give our thoughts, which we will, I mentioned.
Hold on, we actually should do Community.
Oh, right, Community. Dang it. All right.
Good thing I'm here.
Please, Sean, Community, go.
All right, it's pretty quick, which is good. We've got Seth and Whitley, of course. Whitley says, I'm excited for Ms. Marvel, largely because women aren't represented very well in the superhero world. This is true, and I agree. I'm excited for that reason also, because apparently Ms. Marvel, or Captain Marvel, her name is it changes so much. I can't keep track. But the movie, it's just called Captain Marvel. She's apparently like the most powerful thing in the MCU. So it's going to be pretty cool to see someone on that scale, and she's in space, but kind of comes back to Earth. It's a very unique hero from what I've heard, but I'm glad that I really don't know anything about the character. It'll kind of be like Vision, where he just, boom, new character just appears, and I get my first impression through the MCU. It's fun. And then Seth says, I'm most excited for Civil War, because he's a fan of Cap. Good old Cap'n. And Guardians 2, because they're funny, which is true. I'm also very excited for both films. I don't own any DSLR cameras. He asked me how many I own, and I say 0. And he has a good point. He says, when we talked about we didn't know where Vision would fall during Civil War, and he says, I can see Vision staying on the fence and trying to continually de-escalate the conflict. That's a solid guess, honestly, because he might try to stay neutral. Yeah.
That's very vision neutral.
Yeah.
Not really getting involved in any
I'm
any
on the
serious
side of
conflicts.
life. No,
Yes.
neither other side.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's more. He does say, I hope Martin Freeman's character cameos in Doctor Strange. That would be funny. Just give them a scene together, Freeman and Cumberbatch. Would be amusing for the fans.
Yeah, it's going to be funny. Soon, 2 people who have played Sherlock Holmes are going to be a part of the MCU. That's an interesting little insight.
Robert Downey Jr., right.
Yeah.
I was thinking smaller roles. I'm like, who of the small guy? No, the big MCU actor.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, there's more to come. You can go on the YouTube page for the Ultron Aftermath, but we can move on for now.
Yes, and please go listen to that the Ultron Aftermath episode, which was the last episode we did.
It was a brilliant excuse for us to talk about Phase 3.
Yes.
Again.
Again. And but don't worry, we will be taking a small break from superhero stuff until Ant-Man later this year.
I want to hear the word superhero. Just
we're
done.
It will not come up again. And for
they
the next
probably
couple
will.
episodes.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, we can't help it. It's like how we hope that like the 2 words "star" and "wars" will be put together at some point, but we know they will. It's inevitable. Anyway, so now let's talk about Mad Max Fury Road. I'm thinking about it. Let's give our thoughts now.
Yes, just
and
brief.
Yes, very brief, because we have another angle of Mad Max that we'd like to discuss.
Angle, I sincerely the percentage of thought I've put towards Mad Max, 10% of it was the actual movie and 90% was something else. So let's really quickly knock out the movie, just on its own, just the movie, its merits, all that, and then we'll get into there are 2 other angles I want to talk about.
Oh wow! All right, this is going to be an interesting discussion.
Yes.
We're going to integrate a couple different topics into this discussion, but
it's all Mad Max focused,
right? Of course,
it's all
absolutely
focused on the film.
So you can think of this as sort of more of a Mad Max discussion rather than a Mad Max review.
Though we will be giving scores.
Of course, yes.
But we're doing that early.
Yes, we are going to be doing our usual system in which we give our little mini reviews for those of you who have yet to see the film in question, and we give scores, and then we move into spoiler territory. And oh boy, it's
Okay, we'll get to that later.
We're going deep. I mean, for those people who haven't seen Mad Max or are unfamiliar with the franchise, like myself, and I think Sean, have you seen the other Mad Max films?
Nope, I've not seen either.
Okay, so we're coming from similar perspectives. So let's just get this out of the way now. Sean, would you like to start?
Sure. I was disappointed with Mad Max Fury Road. I saw the critical praise. There's a lot of great buzz coming from, I believe, Comic-Con when some footage was shown. I had not seen any movie, so I went in yay, this is actually going to be a really impressive action movie that even the critics can get behind. It is completely empty. It is nothing but eye candy and noise. Mad Max as a character is just nothing, and we can get into that later because it fits into another topic. And both my dad, after I saw it with him, and you, Larry, picked out the perfect word for Mad Max Fury Road, and that is vapid. It offers nothing. It is eye candy. It is noise. And while there are some good action moments, and it can look pretty every once in a while, and it isn't that boring or terrible in any obvious way, I don't want to see it again. And I was disappointed. But the rage will come later. But just for the movie, I was disappointed, and I will give it a 4 out of 10. It's a weak film.
Well, thanks for spoiling my my review.
Well, sorry.
Well, okay. Well, to be fair, I mean, it was pretty on point.
It was just funny that both you and my dad used the exact same word.
Yeah, when Sean so very rudely called me in the middle of the night.
Come on. Okay, look. Midnight is you can't call that middle.
Okay,
whatever.
Fine, but it was in the middle of my sleep, which is enough. But Sean and I were talking about what we were going to do for this episode, and we both kind of agreed on this film, and I used the word vapid, and I think that's a very good word to describe Mad Max. There is, for those of you who can't tell already, I'm not a big fan of this film. If I had to pick a better word than vapid, it would be irritating, because there are so many.
I wouldn't call it irritating. There are some things that upset me, but
there are lots. I'm sorry, but there were quite a few things about this movie that really did irritate me. Whether it was the annoying frame rate, the weird frame rate changes,
just the speed, it sped up. It did the Kingsman thing.
Yeah, but that's still it does a lot, and it bugs me. Whether it's the frame rate stuff going on, the shallow, not really interesting characters, the lazy plot, and
is there one?
Yeah, and the terrible, awful execution of plot, just period. Okay, and details and things like that. So much of Mad Max is just really unimpressive and lazy. But I have to give credit where credit is due. That George Miller has a style, he has a look, and I will be the first one to admit that the look of this film, the cinematography, are very well done. The look is incredibly well realized, and it's very uncomfortable at times to have to sit through. But I think that was kind of the intention. And the camera work even at times is good, and the action has its moments, but overall it just kind of boils down to repetitive nonsense after a while. It doesn't really go anywhere, which is why I'm also going to give Mad Max a 4. I wouldn't say it's a bad film. I wasn't
right on that edge.
You think really?
I'm on the edge. I'm not going to call it bad.
Yeah,
but I'm on the edge.
I wouldn't call it bad because there is something there. There is something to go see.
There's
it
more
for.
effort than I would feel comfortable calling bad.
Right, but
in the making of it. But.
Yeah, but I would. You couldn't pay me to see it again. Definitely not.
Well, okay, you could pay me. Come on, I'd sit through any terrible movie if I was paid for it.
Well, it depends on it depends on the cash.
Okay, not Brazil.
Okay,
never again.
So there you go. You kind of have our opinions on Mad Max. A 4 out of 10, kind of weak. We don't really recommend it, but if you're a fan of Mad Max and you are a fan of cars exploding and really shallow characters, enjoy and have fun. All right, so now that we got those mini reviews out of the way, we're gonna, before we talk about the other topics we want to integrate into the discussion, we are going to mention a little bit more in depth about some of the points we had that we mentioned. And I think something that Sean and I agree on is just the really terrible plot, or lack thereof.
Yeah, look, this ties into it. The pacing in this movie is awful.
Oh, awful.
It's just over an hour, non-stop action scenes.
Yeah, seriously.
And then it's super boring. A few times there's maybe hints of an action scene, but it never goes full action for 40 minutes. And then there's a 20-minute climax. That's the movie. That's awful pacing. That is just terrible. And I was watching it just kept going. It legitimately is over an hour of the film. From right at the start is just action. And it's all in cars. It's all just explosions.
Well,
it's
not all of
crash.
it.
Okay, at the
I
very
will give it
beginning,
the one merit in the action that I actually am very positive about was the hand-to-hand combat scene, which in my opinion is probably one of the better scenes of the movie.
No. I honestly, it didn't come in with the cars, but it did at the beginning. I hate the sped up effect.
Oh yeah, me too.
I hate it.
I told you about this several times.
Kingsman did it for its big fight, and it was awful. And now they're doing it here, and it's awful. Please don't make this be a trend like shaky cam. It doesn't look good. It's tricking people into thinking they actually saw action. Whoa, something happened that I couldn't really tell what, so it was action.
And see, the thing about Kingsman, I know I didn't mind it as much in Kingsman. I think that was because I was actually enjoying myself.
And with Kingsman is more stylized in its sense of humor. Not visually stylized, of course. Obviously, Mad Max is way more stylized in its look and its production. But I mean, in terms of it was a more lighthearted, I guess, arguably kind of
which is why I didn't mind it,
type of spy movie. And so it fit a little bit better. Here it's supposed to be this gritty post-apocalyptic world, and doing the sequence, especially at the beginning, is when it really irked me. And that's because the movie opened with it, and I was immediately off to the wrong foot here. But it's there are flashes of, I think, people Mad Max didn't protect that are dead.
Here's another thing. We're going to get into that separately, but I just want to bring that up. I just want to address. Yes, it is this movie's terrible habit of having plot details that are barely explained.
And see, the thing, my dad has seen all the other Mad Max movies, and even he was I think that was from a previous movie. Not sure.
But they don't.
So they did a terrible job.
Never address it ever, and it's so annoying.
It was supposed to be all intense and dark, and this small girl is making a skull face at us. Over the top, and
Yeah,
really
seriously.
didn't work that well.
So
But B,
cliche too.
how
Why
much-
weren't you
yeah,
there for
very
us?
Cliche.
Why weren't you there for us? You could have saved us.
I mean, come on, Age of Ultron did it, and it was
Yeah, that
one
was the
line.
one-
They dragged that out.
When
for
I
an
saw that
entire
in Age of
scene.
Ultron, I was like, "Oh, please, no!
Yeah,
Are we
they
not
could have
doing
written it
this?"
all better.
And they eventually,
Look at
thankfully,
us,
they didn't
Larry.
really
we,
do it.
We already fell back to MCU.
God darn
we
it.
cannot escape.
Ugh.
But anyway, at the same time, he's like whipping around like whoosh, boo, 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 super fast. It looks cartoonish. Okay, it looks like a cartoon. Stop it.
Yeah,
okay,
honestly.
action directors, stop it. It's like shaky cam. It doesn't actually make the action better. It will trick people for a little while, and then there'll be a massive backlash against it, and it will be laughable, and your film will be dated. Stop it. Stop it.
If I can make
Anyway.
another point about the action, something
Yes.
you mentioned, there was an hour of the action. Here's the thing
Yes.
about the action: it's besides for that hand-to-hand combat scene, which I did enjoy watching because there were so many people involved in it. It barely changes. It's pretty much there are three. I
Yeah.
can kind of segment it to like three specific moments, and they're all the same. They're all in cars, and people
It's
are shooting
all just-
things at cars, and they're
throwing
exploding.
stuff. There's some people jumping. There's like it's all the same.
It's all the same. And you know what?
okay,
After an hour, it gets real boring.
It does
real
get
fast.
really boring.
Oh my
And
god!
here's the thing. There's something for me. The desert bores me to tears as a location.
It's pretty
It's
barren.
just boring. Because
Same
like
color
there
over
are
and
some
over.
movies like Lawrence of Arabia where I'm like, wow, great character, very interesting plot and all that, but my god, I can't look at more sand. Like even as a movie as great as like Lawrence of Arabia, it's a masterpiece.
Oh
Everyone loves
yeah,
it.
fantastic.
That's a negative for me because I can't stand just staring at the desert. And so, when you have your entire movie
In the
being a
desert.
post-apocalyptic desert, you can try to fix it. And when it goes to nighttime, it looks better. Blue is a more interesting color than brown or whatever, tannish red, whatever you want to call this desert. And there were more shadows and it just looked better at night. However, that first hour, all daytime, all on the
daytime.
same stretch of desert, barely any changes. There were some rocky formations or some bigger dunes than other sand dunes, but all the same.
Can we also
Oh,
make the
this-
point that having it in a desert, I know this might work better with the Mad Max chronology. I don't know, but it's really there's so many cliches in this film. Another, let's just do a cliche drinking game. Another cliche: we give all the poor people water, and
Yeah.
you all what is it? You
Fight
bend your
for
knees
it.
for the water, and you get your
Yeah.
buckets ready, and you get it. So annoying. I'm sorry, I just had to bring that up again. Something else about the action that insanely bothered me was that the music. You mentioned the music earlier.
Yeah.
The music barely plays, doesn't really play much of a role. It just starts the track, and the track just happens, and then nothing.
And
There's no build
it
up
all
in
felt
anything.
the same.
Yeah,
Like, maybe
all
it's
of
just
it.
me, but like the music start. This is the only part I would call irritating. Where it's just like there were like at least 24 shots of just the convoy of the enemy cars, where it's like supposed to be super threatening, and the music does the identical ja 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 ja,
Yeah,
and just
pretty much.
over and over and over again. And my God, who like it was bothering me. My ears were hurting. Like, stop it.
Who
Stop
builds
it.
a
All
car?
this was flashy colors in the desert and this noise, this constant noise of repetitive music and repetitive car crashes. My God.
And you know,
Anyway,
can I just
wow,
ask
this
a
is really
Can I just
kicking in.
ask a logistical question? Who builds a car with 6 bass drums on the back, and another
people
one
who are
with
crazy
with
and
the
wacky
front
and post-apocalypse.
with the front being a guitar? You notice the guitar player survives, like out of everyone, or at least the guitar does. Like they always have these annoying
Oh,
shots
that
of this
shot was
guy.
awful, by
it's
the
just
way.
play. Yeah, they're playing guitar, and I'm like, this is becoming so stupid. It's laughable. Me and
Look,
my friends were making jokes about that the whole
I
movie.
really don't. See. Here's the thing. I haven't seen the other Mad Max movies. To
Me neither.
that was okay. There were times where I went way too far. For example, the absolutely abysmal garbage final shot of the climax, where the
Yep.
cars crash and the guitar like comes out at you, the audience, from the explosion, like I'm in Shrek 4D at Universal. What
Hooray
the
for
crap was
3D pandering.
that? What was that? That
It
is
was really
disgraceful.
stupid.
That was
So-
garbage.
okay, so-
God, that shot.
Action is bad. We've established that, and I'm glad we
Well,
got
no,
to
okay,
kind of.
let me say this.
Oh, there's more. Oh, there's
Yes,
more.
it wasn't bad. It was just too much and did not vary. So what was there?
Well,
It's
that's
like,
what made
okay,
it bad.
here's some good car action, some really impressive stunts and moments.
True.
Like well
True.
done. There were some moments where I'm like, nice.
When
But
the
there were
war
two-
rig blocks the canyon, I thought that was pretty
Right.
cool.
There were too few of them.
Right.
And it just kept going. Like, this is
Kept
like
going.
in the Bourne movie. There's the shot where Jason Bourne goes down that really narrow stair in the car, Bourne Ultimatum. It's a cool stunt where it just goes through this stairway alley through the car, like centimeters from the buildings on the side. It's an intense escape. Okay, so that was a cool moment. You're like, well done. So let's just do that for an hour. Yeah? Yeah, just going downstairs. Just shoot down some European alleys with Matt Damon. Okay,
That sounds
I'd watch
good.
that. But
Yep.
mostly the Matt Damon part.
Well,
Anyway.
right.
Yes, we should move on from the action. Like, I
yes.
totally get that it was insanely well made, and it's really good in small bursts. The problem is it goes way too long. By the way, the fact that it is really well made, we will revisit in an
Yes.
upcoming topic.
We will.
But
Again, we
yes.
have many topics, but again, we want to talk about some other things. I want to hit on plot a little bit.
Well, yeah, we
just
kind of
a-
did it with the pacing, but
Well,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to hit a couple of complaints I had. Half of these characters' accents are so thick, and the worst part is that most of them have to convey plot details. That's
Well,
not
what
a good
plot?
thing.
That was another thing that kind of bothered me. This was just like nothing.
Well, okay. Well, here's the
'Cause
thing,
here's the plot.
right?
Here's what I'm going to do. Here, I'm going to tell you guys the plot right now. Furiosa gets evil guys' wives and breaks them out.
5 wives,
helps them
by the
escape.
way.
Max gets tangled up in that truck. They all go to place Furiosa was born. Turns out that place is gone. Then they go back to original place and kill bad guy and open water. There's your plot. I shouldn't be able
Really
to do
bad.
a 2-hour movie that quick. Like, if I tried to do that with Age of Ultron, that would not be possible.
Nope.
There's so much going on. And that might be a little too much, but you get the point. It's a barren plot. It is minimal.
Let me
You
work
know
off
what? I
of
would
that.
call it. I'm going to say this: Mad Max Fury Road has a plot. It does not have a story, and I have my own definition for why I would say that. I know the technical definition and it has both, but I would say no story, just plot. It was stuff happening.
And you know
That's
what? Let me work off of that for a sec, right? Let me just knock down all my complaints about the plot right now. First of all, there's no lore to speak
Nope.
of whatsoever.
It was actually
world,
pretty bad world building.
yeah, the world just happens. Now, if
Yeah,
I'm
it was
not
bad
mistaken,
world building. Like, they thought it was good world building when it's just like, hey, people in canyons.
no,
And
but
then
here's
they
my
left.
question, right? Did they mention nuclear testing in the
I
beginning?
don't. Maybe.
I don't remember. That's how bad it was. Because I think,
Yeah.
because I was talking to my friend after I walked out of the movie, and I'm like, well, the world had no explanation. Like, how did that world come to be? And he's like, they did some nuclear tests and stuff like that. I'm like, that was mentioned in the movie? I don't recall.
Oh, I don't need origins. I just want world building, as in, like, I want a fully realized environment. All I got was, here's this wacky clan.
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much.
that's all we got a view of, because we got the one crazy guy and his minions. Like, that was
Yeah,
about
but
it.
I
And
would
then
have loved.
the-
I would have
Go ahead.
loved to learn, how did Immortan Joe become Immortan Joe? Like, where did this society even come from?
Yeah.
Why is there this clan here? Why is this guy? Does this guy manage to convince people that they will go to Valhalla and live again? You know,
Which
like,
was cool, but, like, never expanded upon. It was
Yeah,
like, hey, he
at
was
all.
invoking this Norse idea of, heroic warriors afterlife in order to get crazy suicide missions going.
Right,
And then
So,
it doesn't do anything with it.
That's one big problem. Second big problem is, again, the thing I mentioned before about the plot details. Half the time, I had no idea what was going on because characters were trying to convey plot details and they were talking so quickly with accents that were so thick, I couldn't understand what they were saying. Most
Personally,
of the details.
I can't really think of an instance of that being the case.
I'm
but-
sorry, but I had a ton of that, and most of the details I know about the plot, I had to look up a synopsis afterwards to get the full details. Like I got a few, but some of these they talk so quickly, and the camera moves away from them while they're talking, and it's really bad. All right, that's another thing.
Do you have any other? Because I mean, I want to talk about how Mad Max as a character is nothing. But
We'll
fits
get to
into another
characters next.
segment.
Last thing, just the last thing about the plot. I
Okay.
love how it literally is just a forwards and backwards. Like what happens
there
is
and back again.
we go to a place, it turned out being pointless, and we go back. And we
Yeah.
literally give the most obvious answer to the plot. Hey, you know what would be a really good idea for the civilization? Let's just kill the bad guy. It took us
Yeah.
it took us a whole journey to some random place where there was no proof that existed in the first place, and then we just say, you know what? Let's just kill the bad guy. It was literally the characters were face palming themselves in the face as
Yeah.
not being able to figure out that simple detail. I wouldn't have minded so much if they'd actually tried in the first place to kill Immortan Joe, but they didn't. They just let him be him. He's a scumbag, so I don't know why. But yeah, point stands. Let's move on to characters.
I think, honestly, they fit into the second segment we should talk about. So I say we leave the characters.
Oh, you want to leave the characters?
I do.
Okay.
Because that's all I have about the movie's really technical thing. Again, it was loud, it was eye candy, the action was over the top and enjoyable in bursts, but it was monotonous and pacing was awful. That's really all my notes on the movie disconnected from everything else.
I'm trying to think. Ending. No, not ending. Beginning. Really over the top. Really kind of unpleasant to watch in several cases. Again, just a lot of details that just are. I think Mad Max. A good way to describe it is it's just a bag of ideas, and a ton of those ideas never really go anywhere. That's a problem. And the ending sucks. Ending's terrible. Mad Max just somehow, despite the fact that he is now a hero and he shows everyone a Morton Joe's corpse, he just manages to get away in a crowd.
He just walks away.
Being seen.
I mean, I guess that fits the character. He is the loner, but yeah.
It fits character, doesn't fit
honestly,
logic.
He isn't the main character, which we'll get to.
Right.
But still, actually, I don't know. I don't think the ending bothered me. I didn't give it any thought, maybe because I was so thankful the movie was finally over.
It just logically
real talk,
bothered me.
You know when they're at the salt flats and they're leaving, right? And then Mad Max goes and gets them and tells them the plan.
Yeah.
I honestly was sitting there in my seat going, please, just please, let them agree to go back to free the town, and then it cuts to black on a cliffhanger on sequel bait, because at least it would be over. But then they start driving back, and I go back, I lean back in my seat and go, my God, there is another at least half an hour of this movie.
Well, I knew there was going to be a big climax to the Morton Joe.
Yeah, I was hoping, honestly, I would have been much happier if it cheaply did sequel bait.
Also,
that's the status of the movie.
I guess this kind of works with characters, but 2 romantic side plots? Sort of, kind of, that go nowhere. Yeah. One between the dude, Nicholas Hoult as a bald guy, and one of the wives, and then I guess some people say yes, some say no with Mad Max and Furiosa. I don't really see it. I think the blood transfusion thing they do at the end is sort of like a friend, sort of like, hey, you're really cool, so I'm gonna make sure you stay alive because I know you're cool and whatever. But speaking of, that's pretty much it for me. So. I guess we're now going to try to integrate a few different concepts. We
have 2 extra textual things.
Yes,
these are not the film specifically. This is stuff surrounding the film that
we think it's important to address. It's important to address these things.
It's important in understanding the movie, I guess, in its current context of 2015. But it's also interesting. It's one of the movies where I'm actually way more interested in the stuff surrounding it than the actual movie. Even though it didn't seem that way, I kind of got really worked up. I'm sorry, I got worked up earlier.
Because the worst part is I had a lot of buzz. It had a lot of buzz, and it let me down big time. So should we go to the second point?
Yes, the extra textual thing, number 1.
So let's just very quickly preface it. Now we mentioned that Mad Max is not really the main character because he doesn't really have that much dialogue.
He's not really a character
at all, really. Yeah, he kind of has he has some sort of backstory involving 2 daughters. We don't know how in the world they relate to him. I think 2 or just 1. I thought I saw 2.
See,
big problems.
We don't know anything.
So he has a daughter, and he's a loner. And that's pretty much all we know. He gets barely any dialogue, and it's a waste of Tom Hardy's potential.
I know Tom Hardy is such a good actor, and I think they just didn't use him.
Same goes for Charlize Theron. She doesn't get that much to work with either.
They used her a lot more than Max.
Yeah, but it's nothing good.
No, she can do better. Good. Well, no, I think it was fine. I think it was solid, but she can do better because I've seen her do better.
I will say, the moment where she screams and is on the knees about it, that hit. But besides for that, nothing. So the real main character is Imperator Furiosa, who is played by Charlize Theron, and the movie is very female power.
Yes.
It's very pro-feminism. I don't know whether or not the producers were trying to get to that.
The director, the quote was, "I can't help but be a feminist," so I think it was intentional.
So, yay, women can do things that are awesome.
Yes,
and that's great. That's good.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to start with this, because I wanted to start positive. Because we just did a bunch of negative, and we're about to get a whole lot more negative and yelly, trust me, on the third point. But this part, we want to be positive. We finally got an action movie, mainstream action movie, that has not just like the one necessary or the one kind of note strong female character. Like, look, Black Widow was a well-written character in Winter Soldier, but she's the one. It's like, oh, we only got to do one female character, right? No, you should probably do more. We got a lot of them. In fact, there are only 3 major male characters and like 5, right? There were the 4 wives and Furiosa.
Well, I mean, one of them dies early on, so.
Yeah, and then the mothers, is that what she called them? The older women warriors, they came in. So they're really only the 3 male characters. There's Max, there's the bad guy, I can't remember his name, and then there's Nicholas Holt's character. That's about it. So I want to start by saying, good job.
Yeah, good for you, movie.
Not only did they give us female characters, but they do stuff. I was worried because, I'd heard that, some men's rights organizations were upset, which made me very excited to see the movie, as did, a lot of people got more excited when they heard that. It's funny because they were actually upset at the poster, which is hilarious to me. But anyway, so I'd heard that, oh, good, it has a very has a feminist kind of view, so awesome. And then when I get there and you find out what Charlize Theron's character is doing, and the shot that establishes that she's, kind of smuggling out the wives of the main villain to safety, they're in like these skimpy outfits and they're all like ridiculously attractive supermodels. I'm like, oh no. Like, is this going to turn into a giant, like, not one damsel in distress, but all 5 of them? Or I think it's only 4. I think it's 4. I think it's 4 in the group. There are 4 of them in the group. And I was worried. I was honestly worried. But that didn't end up being the case. And that's a point that I really want to bring up. Look, let's be real, Hollywood. I get you don't want to take the risk and go full like women power right away. You know what? Let's meet halfway. Let's not force that, even though that's what you should be doing. Let's at least agree to do one thing, and that's make all characters realistically competent. That's what this movie does. Because look, these are just some wives of some evil warlord that are just there for his pleasure. That's it. That's all they are. They are not trained. They are not, like, physically strong or anything, so they can't really fight that well. But they're still human beings that know how to, like, punch or kick or something. And they were active throughout the movie, Like, that was awesome. They were competent in the exact same way any person would be.
Yeah.
They don't need to be trained in combat. If they see someone jumping into the back of the car, or I guess van, truck, whatever you want to call the giant rig they had.
The war rig,
guess what? They can grab something and hit them. It's not difficult. They don't have to go, oh, help me, Mad Max. Come on. And so I like that they were helpless in the sense compared to Charlize Theron's character in Mad Max, who have been doing this a long time, but they weren't helpless. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, in comparison,
totally.
They weren't as good. Because they were like civilians, and even then, they were not used to actual combat. They were trapped as wives, like sex slaves, more or less, and so they don't have a background to really be that useful. But they did everything they could. That's pretty how much. You should do. Look, movies. If you want to keep your male action star being all macho, that's fine. We won't force that change just so we don't scare you off. But at least make the female characters like competent. Because this did not make Furiosa or Mad Max look less, kind of warrior-like. I didn't think less of them because the wives were able to defend themselves when the other 2 were busy. They still looked macho, you could say. They still could handle their own. It didn't diminish their action star quality. It just made the other characters not seem like dead weight and damsels in distress. It was nothing but positive. Wow, I've been talking a while, haven't I?
Yeah, I thought you deserved to go on that little and it's not even the end of it, really. I agree, and you know what? If I really want to add on a point to that, the moment where that one wife dies, I actually cared at that moment.
That was tough.
That was tough for me.
Again, a lot of times when you get these characters, it's like, oh, help me, I am woman that must be saved, and it's hard for me to care because they're usually annoying and pandering to the kind of common denominator of, ooh, rescue woman, get reward, But in this case, since they were actually doing things, since they were voicing their opinions and arguing and doing everything they could for their situation, they were actually doing stuff, and you could kind of get an idea of character. Again, none of them were really developed, but you could get somewhat an idea. I did care. Because of that, because of all those things. They weren't just annoying, save me. No, they were doing what they could. They were, vocal in the decisions of the group. They were, again, how people would act.
Yeah, a big thing about their character that I think is important to realize is that they had probably gone through some serious crap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, know, they were pretty much sex slaves. And the best part about their characters is that they're very aware of their environment, right? These 5 wives, essentially, they know that it's pretty messed up. 4. No, it's 5. It starts off as 5, then goes to 4.
Okay.
They all know they all know that they want to get out. Yeah. And when they're in this situation with Max and Furiosa, they don't complain all the time. Right. They don't whine. They don't act like naive and as if they're not going on. They know what's going on, and they actually
the one character that kind of broke and wanted to go back and but that felt like a character trait. That didn't feel like an annoying drama. That that character was a little too brainwashed, and she's having a hard time breaking away.
And, hey, you know what's great? You know what's great? Hey, someone's got to go to the back of the train. Well, I'll do it. No, you guys should stay together. I'll do it. Yeah. That was awesome.
Because anyone could do it. Give them a gun, and they could do a decent job.
Good for her, Seriously.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Honestly, if we don't want to offend people with the message of make women equal, this is a good template for your non-military action hero male characters. The Rob Schneiders of comedy, the comedy reliefs, in action movies, and they're worthless and just sit there being saved all the time, even male or female. Here's what you do. You make them competent.
Yeah.
But especially with female characters, because that's what really needs to be improved in Hollywood. So
yeah, feminism. Whoa.
And that's the thing. If this movie is super successful and that's the message that Hollywood gets from it, then I'm very happy. It is successful. And that's a good, and it's worth my frustration.
Yeah, it made about $70 million in box office, I believe.
Yeah, and what's so great is that this lost, right? And so it's bad that it didn't win top box office because you're like, I want this message spread and to handle the female characters well, which we really need in this bad Hollywood, especially action movie environment. But what got number 1 was Pitch Perfect, and it's almost entirely female characters.
Girl power, yeah.
Yeah, so at least even if I've heard Pitch Perfect isn't good.
Me neither.
From some trusted,
I've heard it's bad.
Sources I trust their film opinion on. I don't know about Pitch Perfect 2 in comparison, but honestly, at this point, I don't care. If we're making some sort of social change through these movies, I don't care. So, again, these are just movies. So I might vent, and I already did again, about, the action, it was so monotonous and awful pacing and all this. But at the end of the day, who cares? If we can finally get some, balanced representation of genders, worth it. Completely worth it.
And you know what? And if you're gonna do it, you better get some good actors, some good actresses. Charlize Theron, great choice.
Yes.
In all honesty, small correction. It made what did it make? 40-something million, and now it's up to 115 worldwide, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's good because it was a surprisingly not very expensive movie.
Yeah, that was really surprising.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
I guess a lot of it. I guess they did do some real practical stuff.
But even then, that can be expensive.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know what. I don't know. I actually don't know what would be more expensive, visual or practical. But anyway,
is that,
yeah, I think we can move on to the third topic.
End positivity.
End positivity.
May I intro our next segment?
Well, okay, but I want to have my own little input to it. But please, Sean, go.
All right. Our next segment, I would like to call Critics. What are you thinking? That's it. There you go. There's your intro. Larry, explain.
Oh, okay. I actually just found an incredible link before we started. And I'm going to bring it up as I'm talking about this. But this movie has been getting a lot of praise.
A lot.
Several
it's insane.
people.
It has an 89 on Metacritic.
It has a 98, I believe, on Rotten Tomatoes, which is insanely high for a movie like
Boyhood doesn't even have that.
Yeah, and that was, that was rooting for an Oscar. And it's really interesting because it caught me completely off guard.
Right.
When Mad Max, when people were calling Mad Max like the next masterpiece of action.
Right.
It really caught me off guard. But so I walked into the movie like, all right, yeah, we're gonna get something really great. And then I walked out,
Yeah.
And I was wondering if we had watched the same movie.
Thank you. That was my exact response. What were the critics watching? Let me just read a few highlights to give people some context. The New Yorker. No, the one I really wanted to read was because he's such a big name. Right? Yeah, Roper, Richard Roper.
Oh, Richard
Chicago
Roper, the guy who took Ebert's position.
Yes, it's all perfectly, wonderfully, fantastically crazy. I agree, it's crazy. Don't know about the positive stuff. Right. Okay. Amidst all those ingenious, power-packed Road Warrior sequences, again, I don't really disagree. Here's a sentence that just blows my mind. Fury Road contains a surprising amount of depth and character development. What are you talking about?
Yeah, honestly.
Unless you're talking about how it's surprising how none exists. But since you gave it a 100, I don't think that's what you're referring to. There is no character development. There is no depth. Okay, I cannot believe professional paid critics are saying this. And this is Richard Roper. This is not like he just got a job at some local paper writing about the hit movie of the week. He is like the most prestigious film reviewer out there for a lot of people.
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
Wow.
And then there's like, hold on.
I have one.
Go for it.
This is from a writer on one of my it's not a professional. I mean, it is sort of professional. It's schmoesno.com, one of my favorite movie culture websites. Writer Mike Messina, and I trust this guy. He writes, Mad Max Fury Road is one of the best films released in the last decade. The film is absolutely incredible and is instantly going down as one of the best action movies of all time.
No.
I'm not afraid. I'm not done. I'm not afraid to say that George Miller has given us a masterpiece. I'm not done. I'm saying it, folks, and I'm serious. Mad Max Fury Road has stamped itself amongst the great movies in the history of cinema. I'm not done.
Get out.
I'm not done.
You're fired.
I know all film is subjective, but dude, I don't know how anyone could disagree as far as this one is concerned.
How about having a brain? God. Okay, and what about this? What about this? Fury Road, a stone-cold action masterclass, beautiful and brainy? And startling in the ways it throws off the current definition of the blockbuster. What are you talking about? I don't get it. I'm genuinely confusing. And it's like where Fury Road stands apart from so much of today's action cinema is that the human element remains front and center. Are you kidding me? Over an hour right off the bat has literally nothing but boom, boom, bang, bang. Get out! Get out! I cannot take you seriously ever again. None of these people. None of them. They saw a different movie, or they're delusional. I don't get it. I cannot wrap my head around how any sane individual, most of all someone who is paid to analyze film, can be saying this utterly untrue nonsense. They are spewing praise where it does not deserve in the tiniest regard. None of this human element or redefining the blockbuster, none of it has any merit. It's a joke, and in a few years, I bet everyone is going to be laughing at these critics. And I hope that they have to stand there awkwardly and listen to everyone laugh at them. Because they jumped on this train so hard, they're going to land front on their face. Anyway, Larry, talk.
Should we name some other... I'm seeing some other stuff here.
I don't want to talk about them anymore.
Oh, no? We're done?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to read anymore. Because, okay. There are a lot of these... Okay, there are two problems. There are two categories of review. Or there are three categories of reviewers. The critics responded in three ways to Mad Max. Category 1 is Mike Lassell from San Francisco Chronicle, who gave it a 50, saying, it's not that great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Category 1 has one person in it. Category 2 is the best action ever, and that makes it amazing, and we are unquestioning how amazing it is. Oh my gosh, action. So we've already, vocalized our problems with that, and how action isn't actually that great. And then there's the third camp, which is what I was rambling about earlier. And what are you even talking about? What movie did you see? Because there is no possible way it's this movie. It is not the movie I saw. The movie I saw had none of what you're talking about. And here's the thing. It's not even like, it's subjective in terms of was it done well or not. It just isn't there. It isn't there. Like Transformers. Okay? They can try to do character stuff. And it does not work. That's subjective. I don't think it works. Some people might actually be like moved by it. I don't know. That's subjective. But here, I watched this movie, and I legitimately have no idea where they're getting this. Like, I honestly don't get it, because I saw these reviews beforehand. So I went in like, oh, there's actually going to be great character stuff. No, it's not even there. It's not there. I can't even point to it being attempted and say that's bad. It's non-existent. It doesn't get to the point of being bad. Not only am I disagreeing that it's good, I'm disagreeing that it exists. That's why it's blowing my mind. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I have to say, I agree with you. I mean, I was just so confused because, like, I was ready for this movie. Like, it was what was it, Saturday night, and I was getting reserved my tickets, ready to go. 98 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
Reading some of these incredible reviews from some very trusted sources, and I'm watching it, and it was honestly so far. Yeah, I'd say so far. I was just thinking about it. So far, the most unpleasant film-going experience I've had.
Wow.
As far, I mean, Sean may disagree. You know, I don't know. I mean,
no, I wouldn't call it an unpleasant experience. The
Oh,
unpleasant
no,
experience is the rage I had after.
Oh no, I would call this film because I was just so annoyed about how lazy the plot was, and
Yeah.
I was watching this action, and I'm like, okay, when is it going to end? It's almost a throwback to Die Hard 5. When I was watching Die Hard 5, a lot of time I was like, okay, stop getting bigger. You still have an hour left of your film. What are you doing? Yes.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Stop. No. You know, and then he rolled over, and then he took a what was it? He took like a car and rolled over and like drove over several other cars in the first action scene.
It's like stop. And it's funny because that's a fun callback because that was our first episode of Cinema
that was our
Attack,
first review.
Okay, so
Man.
can I quickly? I would like to rant, unless you have anything else to say about these people.
Oh my God, you have more?
Oh yeah,
what
because
else?
so far all I've addressed is category 1 and 2. Category 1 is in good job. You saw the movie for what it is, and we agree with you. Category 2 was no. I addressed category 3 and 1.
Which is what
Category
I mean,
3 is the what are we even
see?
talking about nonsense.
Yeah.
Hand in your badge. You should no longer be employed as a film critic because that's not what's in this movie. You are lying to yourself and audience. And then the second category is the people that are just praising the action. And it's getting a 100 because of the action. Now, here's why this upsets me. Because I like blockbusters a lot. I really like action blockbusters. Okay, if you see like my top 10 favorite movies, most of them are action blockbusters. Okay, I guarantee Age of Ultron's going to be in my top 10 favorite films of the year. Probably top 5, probably top 3, but again, maybe I'll be surprised and that won't be true. I'd love it if it was surprised because that means I see movies that I liked more than Age of Ultron, so that's great. But this point stands that loved it. Okay. Every time I see an action blockbuster that I really like, it's always because there's something underneath it. There's something character, there's something story, there's something emotional, there's stuff there that I get out of it, as well as the entertaining action, popcorn movie aspect. And that's why especially I like Marvel movies, because they hit that perfect mix of, wow, that was actually a really good character beat, or character arc, or really impressive story construction, and awesome superpowered action sequences, explosions, nerd stuff galore, right?
Yeah.
So I see these movies, I love them, I have a very genuine, emotional, I love these films. Even movies like Thor 2, I saw the trailer for it and I realized I really like that movie. It's not very good, it's okay, but I really liked it.
It's fun to watch.
I have emotional connection to I have a positive emotional response, very strong positive emotional response to that movie, even though I would call it good. I would call it good. It's good.
Yep.
So I see these movies with my personal, positive response, and then I see the critics talking about them, and here's what they always say. This movie is nothing but a bunch of action sequences strung along with the bare minimum of plot. Okay? And so they're like, no, it's just a bunch of explosions, it's just action, just bare minimum plot. And I say, no, Iron Man 3 is not that. Iron Man 3 is it's a very post-traumatic stress disorder kind of thing. It's very much Tony realizing it was hinted at the end of Iron Man, where it's like you're part of a much bigger world and you just don't know it yet. He was dealing with the fact that he's not the strongest thing anymore. And that, was a great character arc with him, having a huge ego. So him and his huge ego realizing that, hey, there's gods and invincible green rage monsters. So I found all this stuff in there, all this character stuff, all this good story stuff, and like, oh, that was clever. I like the subversive take on the Mandarin, and how it's saying that, actual ideological warfare now is all smoke and mirrors. Like, I saw all this cleverness, and then the critics say, nope, it's just action with bare minimum of plot. So that upsets me on its own. But here's when I get really upset, and when I've now decided to not take critics seriously, is when I see a movie where is literally, undeniably, objectively action with the bare minimum of plot. They're giving it 80s and up. They're giving it 90s. They're giving it a perfect scores. It's unacceptable. That's disgusting. You cannot disregard all these movies that are really trying and are doing a great job bringing a lot of emotional, subtext or just upfront normal text to mainstream audiences, even if it's nothing incredibly deep. Like a lot of the Marvel movies, I'm not going to call super deep, but there's definitely stuff to them. You can't disregard them, laugh, scoff from your high horse, and then you take something that is so obviously, so transparently empty, and having nothing in terms of emotional connection or interestingly constructed story, and praise it because of its action. What happened to, we want more from movies than just explosions and action. Transformers has the same amount of action. You give that 30s because you're right. It's just action. There's nothing else going on. But hey, at least Transformers trying to give us a good movie. It's trying to have characters and story. Mad Max just decides to spend the first 70 minutes of its runtime exploding and crashing and booming and making noise, and then be boring for 40 minutes, and then go back to booming and exploding and crashing. It didn't even try, and you're not even giving it a free pass. You're not giving it a free pass. You're praising it. You're praising it. You're patting on the head saying, good job for doing everything we pretended we were against earlier. No, that is so hypocritical. That is so just unbelievably idiotic. I'm at a loss for words. Except, of course, that's just a matter of speech, because I have a lot of words. Do you get the point I'm trying to make?
Oh my god,
this
absolutely.
Film is on point, undeniably, literally, exactly the kind of film that they were using as an insult to far smarter, far more emotional, far better films. I have sat through so much trash, so much mud being slung at movies that I love, okay, and just standing by them as they're being called just dumb action movies with nothing but just boom boom. And then when a movie comes around that is undeniably, I will argue I cannot fathom that anyone sees it any other way, just boom boom, it's getting
boom, boom.
Hundreds, it's getting 90s. What are you seeing that I'm not? What movie did you see? Honestly, did I see the studio's hack cut and the director's cut is art as hell? I don't know. But I didn't see the same movie, or you don't have the same brain as me and the same viewpoint of reality, because I have no idea what you're talking about. You are spewing nonsense. None of what you claim that is in this movie is in this movie. And again, my argument is not a matter of opinion. I am genuinely unable to see what they are seeing. Again, like I said before, I'm not even getting to quality. So people can't be commenting, oh, it's all a matter of opinion. No, point to me where character is. Honestly, I want to know. I don't know. And it's just, look, when I saw all these high scores, I thought to myself, be excited, because hooray, high scores, whoa, maybe this is awesome. But be skeptical, because you want to know what? Avatar got high scores. You want to know what happened to Avatar 5-6 months after? Massive backlash. Critics were writing think pieces on why Avatar isn't good to save their credibility, but here's why I said at the time, trying to cover their backs, and it was so patently obvious and upsetting. I think that's going to happen here. I honestly do. I think we're going to get a huge backlash, and I think critics, like I said before, are going to get laughed at, and I think people are going to realize that backlash won't just be critical, it's going to be the people, and people will see it for what it is. Because Avatar, that's what happened. I was in the same camp with Avatar. I was blown away first time I saw it. Third time I saw it, second time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is kind of just by the books, and it's fine, but it's nothing spectacular. Honestly, I think Mad Max is going to be the same thing. I think the blowback's coming. I think, Larry, we're ahead of the curve on this. I think we're going to be in the majority in 2 years.
Well, if I can make a few comments.
No,
towards,
I don't think I'll let you. I think I'm going to rant for another 20 minutes.
No,
yes, go ahead.
Please don't. Although your rant was very well spoken.
Thank you.
Granted. Here's a few things. One, Avatar was very shock and awe.
Yes.
For the first month or so of
But
it
so
being
is
in
this, to be
theaters.
fair.
Yeah, and that's the point. That's the
Okay.
point I'm trying to make. Is that Avatar, people liked Avatar. They were praising it as this brand new thing, and to be fair, it did sort of pave the way for like 3D and all of that whole trend. Even though now 3D is starting to get a bit of a backlash from certain people.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it kind of works in the same way. But then eventually we all sort of took off our beer goggles, so to speak, and we said, the story's kind of weak. It's kind of cliche. We've seen this before. So
and the characters are kind of bland. So yeah.
Yeah. So I have a feeling Mad Max is going to be very similar. George Miller has a very unique style, and that style is one that is very over the top, very destructive, in your face, boom boom.
And people responded to that.
And people hugely responded to that. And I wouldn't be surprised if even the critics that we hold up on such a huge pedestal maybe let their inner child come out for a sec and kind of enjoyed seeing all the explosions everywhere and the bright colors.
I'm totally fine with that, but why haven't they been doing that for all of the... Like, we're in the golden age of blockbusters.
Oh my god, dude, look, I love Marvel movies. Dude, I love Marvel movies,
but... movies. Like, I'm not just talking Marvel movies. In the history of cinema, we've never had this high quality of blockbusters. This is the best it's ever been.
I cannot name. It's hard for me to think of a movie that has come out in the last, like, maybe 5 to 6 years that is as visually stylized and as, like, violently destructive. Maybe like 300. Like 300 Rise of an Empire, probably the closest. But we already reviewed that, and you can check that out on RuleThirst.com. So I have a feeling. So that's one. I think you have a good point, and I think that might happen. Okay, so there's one. Two, and this is the last one, and it's sort of a thing that works off of your point. I never, ever base my wanting to view a film off of the critics,
right.
and it's not out of a hatred of them. I respect film critics. I respect a lot of them and their knowledge, and I do think that there are some great film critics out there that are not just people looking to make money. Those who have a very deep knowledge of filmmaking and cinema and stuff like that. And I know it sounds kind of pretentious, but it's true.
Right, and they're the critics that aren't just bitter about not being able to make movies, so tears apart the work of others.
Right.
There are a lot of people that don't fit that.
If I've learned anything from Roger Ebert, you can be a critic and actually have a love of film and actually know what you're talking about. Okay, so it's not like I hate critics, but the thing about a movie, here's a good example: Mordecai. Right? I went to go see Mordecai. Now, did I know the critics hated it? Yeah, I knew that. I knew it was a big old rotten slap in the face to Johnny Depp's career. All right, I get that, but I wanted to have a good time. I knew it was gonna suck. But I paid money, and I had fun, and I saw the movie. The critics didn't like it. I don't care. Movies are not about other people. Seeing movies and enjoying movies is not about having other people tell you. And as much as we want to push the idea that every movie you go into comes with expectations. I know Max is a big pusher of going into a film, expecting a film, and not raising or lowering the stakes.
Which, of course, is impossible and
that's
kind of stupid to even
admirable.
attempt.
Okay, stronger words than mine. But it's an admirable thing to think about, but honestly, no. In this day and age of the internet and the critics and online reviews, you're going to see some buzz for it or against it, and you're going to form a sort of opinion of what you're expecting. That's fine. But you need to form it on your own merit. You can't just rely on other people's reviews to establish a thought. And it's such a primitive idea. This is an idea that several film nerds like you and I totally get. We're big fans of this. But then we see people about this movie, friends of mine, who are going to see this movie that didn't have any interest in it solely based off the fact that critics are loving it. And this is something I don't like. If you're not interested in seeing Mad Max, if it's not your movie, don't see it. You know what I mean? I would recommend it, obviously, but I mean, it's just, it annoys me when we get, I know your rant was very meaningful and I get that and I understand your pain, but I don't like getting caught up in the critics, because if you do, when you end up disagreeing with them, you get into this whole other place, this really negative place.
That we just experienced here on the World Thirds
right.
podcast.
But I think it's important to note that though the critics, I think it's a nice wrap up, though the critics like the movie and we don't, movies' opinions are subjective. And I know that you agree, and I know that you understand, and I know you have objective ideas that there is no character. But people watch movies different ways. And we've all gone through our own different experiences. And this is going to sound really pretentious, but we've all gone through our own experiences. We all view movies differently. Certain events that happen in a movie may strike chords with you and not with others. So it's important to just sort of, after you've gone through that whole rage and you've sort of let your thoughts out, to sit back and relax. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Critics might like it. I might not. I have my opinion. I stand by it. And you know what? I stand by my opinion that Mad Max Fury Road is not a very good movie. In fact, it's borderline bad. But it's important to stand by that opinion and don't let. And here's a big thing: my friend didn't like Mad Max, and this is a friend that saw it the day before I did. He did not like Mad Max. Today, I was talking to that friend, and he was praising it. And I'm talking to him, like, why? You told me 3 days ago that it's not a good movie. Why are you praising it? It's like, well, I saw it again after reading the critics' reviews, and that actually they have some pretty good points. And I'm like, no, stop.
I mean,
Please
there's something to be
tell
said
me.
for, first impressions can be wrong, but
right. But I mean,
sounds...
but he didn't mention anything about seeing from his own viewpoint. He read the critics' reviews and went into the film with those ideas in mind, and that's very unhealthy. Yeah. That can twist your plot, twist your ideas in a ton of different ways. Believe me, it's happened to me before. I'm victim. Don't do it. And I'm not saying don't read critics' reviews at all and try to stay away, because it's always good to see like what people are saying about it, just to be in the know. But opinions are opinions, and you need to form one for yourself, and you need to be honorable about it. Because I don't know why all these critics are liking the movie. I really don't. Maybe they see something in it.
No,
I don't.
I have a theory, if I may, on why it's getting such a high praise from critics.
Okay.
And it comes back to... Yeah, honestly, it does. It comes back to the use of practical effects. It comes back to the idea of filmmaking. Like, the physical act of making the film. Because, it's funny, the perfect example of this is Slash Film. I love Slash Film. They're a great website, and I trust their reviews a lot, and all that. But they really liked Mad Max. And the title for their review, give me a second, I'm just going to pull it up, because the title of their review is quite fascinating. And it's because it kind of highlights what I think is the reason behind the critics freaking out. Here's the headline for their review for Mad Max. Mad Max Fury Road is spectacular action filmmaking. Great. What about the film? There's a huge disconnect between filmmaking and the film. And the critics are freaking out because they can see, wow, that is technically impressive. Wow, how'd they pull that off? That's an amazing camera trick. That's amazing this. And they gush about the filmmaking and the production behind the movie. Fine. But don't pretend like the product is identical to that. Like, I can respect the use of practical effects. I can be amazed at a few stunts and go, wow, good job doing that. Because I am. I am very impressed with some of the stunts, and I do want to say good job for using practical and all that. But that doesn't mean that the film is good. And I think it's too much emphasis on the filmmaking. The critics are emphasizing way too much the idea of from the point of view of the filmmaking and not as the audience. I don't go to a movie as a filmmaker. I go as a spectator, as a viewer. And so, honestly, filmmaking should be begging for the table scraps of story and character and all that. Filmmaking should never be put front and center. It is so subservient, it shouldn't even be mentioned in the same sentence. And so the fact that it's getting hundreds because the physical filmmaking is impressive, I think is at the heart of the problem. I think that's what the critics are responding to, and I think that's what the backlash is going to be once that wow factor settles down. because what will be left is a very bland, uninteresting set of characters and a poorly told plot. That's my take.
There you go. And that's a wrap.
That is a wrap.
Mad Max Fury Road. Yeah, that was a lot. Viewer question of the day.
Did I talk enough? I don't know. Should we go back and re-record?
Did Sean talk enough? Let us know in the comments down below.
I was feeling a little shy.
No, but in reality, not only please tell us what you thought of Mad Max if you saw it. Also, how are you taking the whole critics thing? Why do you think critics are falling head over heels with this movie? Let us know. We have several different ways you can: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, website. Any way you can, we would highly appreciate it, and we can do that in the community segment next week when Mr. Mariner will hopefully be back with us, and he better be. He better be, because the next film that we will be, hopefully this time, reviewing, I really hope that the discussion forum doesn't blow out of proportion like this one did a little bit. We will be discussing the next film from Brad Bird, which is Tomorrowland, starring George Clooney, which Max is very excited about. So that will be the next film we'll be talking about. And get ready for that, because it's going to be awesome. In the meantime, my name is Larry.
And my name is Sean. And I've ranted out all my energy.
Yeah, Sean's just going to power down now.
Yeah, goodbye, everybody.
But
we will talk. You'll hear us later. Good. Someone needs to step up. Max is slacking on his duties.